Okay, we are back with the Hero's Journey Project, episode number 23. For those of you just jumping on board, if this is your jumping on point, episode number 23, then I'll get you caught up real quick. What I do is I read 10 comic books each week, and I'm into the golden age right now. I'm reading December of 1943. I'm reading the DC Marvel characters from the golden age, so they may have been by different publishers at the time. I'm reading about characters that are the mainstream characters for the most part, characters that have survived until the modern age, also for the most part. Usually they wear costumes, and most of the time they have superpowers. Not always. Sometimes they're just fantastic people. All right, so on this episode, we're very close to Christmas here as I'm recording this episode. We're in December 1943, kind of appropriate. I'm actually going to do an unboxing on the air. I've received something on the in the mail. So as I mentioned, like I'm reading about these superheroes, I'm seeing how they evolve from the golden age to I'd like to see from the modern age, but see where the heroes came from and how they evolve as well. Like to update this podcast. So you'll see I changed up the graphics for the thumbnail for this video. So that's great. I'm not a big graphic guy, as you can see. This isn't like a really high production value in terms of what I'm putting together. I'm doing my best. I'm just a guy who just likes reading comics and talking about them. So, but here, look, got a package here. I'm going to show you what's in it. It's going to maybe it's from Amazon, as you can see. Let's have a look here. I'll try not to chop it up too much. And hopefully this will make the podcast just a smidge better because of the item that came in the mail last week. If you'll remember, I had a microphone added to the show. So here it is. Here's this item here. It's the pop filter for the microphone. Now, this was a bit of a gamble because I don't know how I'm going to actually attach it. But here it is out of the package. Very exciting. Do you notice a difference in the pop filter? You can really see it here. But hopefully it gets rid of a lot of the pops and statics here. May just have to hold on to it for this week until I can find a way to attach it, and then I guess we'll go from there. So hopefully this helps clear up some of the audio on the show. All right, so let's get down to the comics. Without further ado, I'm going to share my screen here. Hold on. All right. So first up, we have. Oh wait, hold on. All right, there we go. Now I'm sharing. She's like, I'm new to this. All right. So first up, we have Green Lantern number 10. This is from DC. It's winter of 1943-44. Interesting cover. This is the origin and first appearance of Vandal Savage in this issue. Also, that's him on the cover. So this is actually a really good origin story in terms of a lot of the ones that I've read from heroes and villains in the Golden Age. So Green Lantern, here's a tale from a man that is over 1 million years old about his manipulation of political power throughout the ages. So this was a story that they took 2 long chapters, I guess, to tell in this issue. So normally there are 3 separate Green Lantern stories in the issue, but in this one there are actually only 2 because one was told in the 2 chapters. But it was a good story, and it was great that they actually took the time to tell the story. So then in the second story, Green Lantern's partner, Doiby Dickles turns away from helping him when he's discovered and primed to become a great radio personality. So he's like, oh, I'm too big for my britches, and I don't have time for superhero work anymore. So this one had a recent CGC sale. It's 6.5 from July of 2020 for $2,880. So as you can see, I put that type in bold. So that's the big issue of the week, big book of the week. So So that's the big one. First one I read was the big issue. Next up, we have the Human Torch comics number 14 from Timely, Winter 1943-1944. So you have another Alex Schomburg cover. So obviously lots of action. Toro, Human Torch, doing their thing, destroying things, causing chaos while they're being shot at by some bad guys. Alex Schomburg cover. Human Torch stumbles onto a plot by Nazis that stole hundreds of dogs, promised to the U.S. Army to be used in an experiment to test cannons that fire melting bullets. So they were stolen, and then the dogs were going to be used in these experiments to test cannons that fire melting bullets by the bad guys. What are you going to do? Next up, Human Torch puts a stop to the white vampire who has trained bats to kill people who don't pay blackmail money to the Nazi cause. So the white vampire, it's too bad. Seemed like it might have been an interesting villain to kind of flesh out, but I believe that's the only time we'll hear about the white vampire. Next up, Human Torch's flame is almost extinguished permanently when he takes on a group of Nazis that poison blood plasma destined for army field hospitals. So these guys are showing up in army field hospitals, all injured and soldiers, and needed blood transfusions, but the blood is poisoned, so a lot of them get sick and die. So that was to be fair, as a Nazi plot, it's not too bad. And the final story, Submariner must figure out how the Nazis managed to bomb New York City and track Cobra, who tries to destroy the heads of Russia, Britain, and the U.S. Anytime I hear Cobra, I'm thinking of G.I. Joe, and clearly this is not the case. Spoiler, they bombed New York City from a sub. It was a recent CGC 4.0 sale from April of 2020 for $787. To be fair, I would have thought this book would go for more. Maybe the cover's not classic enough, not attractive enough. I'm not sure. But yeah, 787 seems a little low for an Alex Schomburg cover. Next up, Leading Comics number 9. It's from DC, Winter 1943-1944. Here you have it's the 7 Soldiers of Victory. It's a full-length story featuring them. That means that you have Green Arrow, Speedy, Crimson Avenger, Star Spangled Kid, Stripesy, Shining Knight, and Vigilante. And of course, I find it funny that you have those 7 guys on there, but Wing, who's a Crimson Avenger sidekick, is kind of out of the kind of in the background with the Shining Knight's horse there, so he didn't quite make the cut. Really, I would have thought they should have been the 8 Soldiers of Victory, but no, Wing didn't make the cut. Anyway, so in this issue, the ever elusive Mr. X makes a bet with some gangsters that he can outwit each of the 7 Soldiers of Victory. That was a recent CGC 7.0 sale from August 2020 for $360. Next up, Master Comics 45. That's from Fawcett, DC 1943. It's an interesting cover. It's not like it's a fantastic cover. I just find it really interesting. There's a lot of cool elements on it. You've got the Captain Marvel Jr. there. Action within a cover. And Captain Marvel Jr. is up against a German scientist that sprays germs, making people allergic to work, and ends up fighting the bad guys on a microscopic level. You have a recent CGC 3.0 sale from April 2019 for $78. Seems low to me. I mean, it's 3.0. It's not high, but the most recent sale I could find, there's only 8 on the census for this one. Police Comics number 25, quality December 1943. Plastic Man has to get woozy winks out of a jam when a lot of people get murdered over a rare edition book. So I guess they knew about collectibles back then too. Human Bomb creates a formula for a serum that destroys locks, and Eustace Throckmorton gets into trouble when he makes a public display of it. For this one, you had a recent CGC 5.0 from April 2020 for $188. There's only $11 on the census for this one. So that seems kind of a low sale, but it's a black cover. I get this would be very difficult to get in high grade for a book that's almost 80 years old. Sensation Comics number 24 is from DC, December 1943. That's an okay cover. Like I said, I do like the line work. Not a big fan of the action on this particular cover. Maybe the trade dress is too big. Not sure. Something on this cover just doesn't stand out for me. First up, first story, Wonder Woman must save Steve Trevor from Dr. Poison and the stopper gas that keeps planes from operating. So now in this story, Wonder Woman flies her plane remotely using her mental radio, and she can also project her alter ego into the mental radio. So a couple different new things that she can do in this issue. And then Mr. Terrific, well, clearly I didn't do very well writing that out grammar-wise, but Mr. Terrific, I guess, is in trouble when a maestro is envious of his prodigy and wants to end his career. So I guess Mr. Terrific has to save the prodigy. Geez, what did I read there? All right, you're going to have to trust me. There was a maestro. He was envious of a prodigy and wanted to end the career of the prodigy. Mr. Terrific had to step in. Wildcat visits his alma mater and keeps the school from being shut down by stopping mobsters trying to sabotage the football team. There was a recent CGC 9.0 sale from July of 2020 for $1,260. Star Spangled Comics number 27, DC, December 1943. It's an interesting cover. Fire. I don't know. It's got some good action. For Star Spangled Comics, this is one of the covers I like better. I'm still not a big fan of these covers, but this is one of the better ones. The Guardian gets to the bottom of the case of an insurance detective trying to have buildings burned down so he can collect the insurance money himself. I'm not sure how the insurance detective would collect the money himself since he doesn't own the buildings, but that's what they said in the story. Star Spangled Kid takes on a ring of crooks that robbed a store to set up an art school to fleece wealthy townspeople and then gain access to their homes as the wealthy townspeople became trusting. Why not? Libby Lawrence is mugged and Lewis loses her Liberty Bell brooch, leaving her unable to track down bad guys. Still all works out in the end, but it's just funny that without that little brooch, all of a sudden she loses her lifeline and can't do anything. Why not? Robot Man visits a dude ranch and ends up helping fight a forest fire because obviously this is where I feel the Golden Age comics that I've heard had silly plots and storylines really start to come out of the woodwork. You have a recent CGC 9.4 sale from November of 2020 for $1,560. Submariner Comics number 12 is from Timely. It's winter 1943-1944. You have an Alex Schomburg cover. So Alex Schomburg, lots of action, lots going on. Good guys tearing things apart. Bad guys sowing chaos. In the first story, Submariner beats a champion swimmer who turns out to be a Japanese spy, and Namor blows up his submarine. After Submariner destroys a wolf pack of Japanese submarines, Namor follows a mechanical sea monster that captures American ships and takes them to an undersea Japanese base. These are some crazy storylines, like I was saying. It's really starting to get kind of nutty. And the reason I put Wolfpack in the description is because I've seen that in a few different stories. Is they describe a group of subs, like it seems to be the enemy submarines, as a wolf pack of submarines. So I don't know if that was a common term or if it's still in use today, but it certainly was referenced a few times in those days. Next up, Submariner heads to China to help Betty Dean save some Chinese children. Now, in this issue, there were 3 Submariner stories, and that's up from 2. There are only 2 in issue number 11. The Angel is a target of a plot for revenge by slain mobsters' children. They blame the Angel for their bad guy daddy getting killed by the police. What do you want to do? You have a recent CGC 2.5 sale from September 2020 for $950. Now, this would be the runner-up for the big book of the week, and I would expect if there were some more sales in higher grades, more recent sales in higher grades, it may have beat the big book of the week, our Green Lantern book with the Vandal Savage first appearance, but I couldn't tell, and it just seems to have fallen short. Next up, World's Finest Comics number 12 is from DC number 9, winter 1943-1944. Superman helps a meek man realize his dream of becoming famous instead of the way he was going about it, which was to become infamous. Star Spangled Kid and Stripesy head to college as professor and student, but of course tangle with crooks on campus. Now, in this issue, Stripesy receives a Bachelor of Arts, a Master of Arts, and Doctor of Philosophy, all from going to college for 1 week. Zatara uses the appearance of mythical creatures to catch a gang of thieves. Green Arrow stops a scheme by a crooked lawyer to sabotage fancy outfits made by a prominent tailor to embarrass celebrities and collect on fees when they sue the tailor. So what is elaborate schemes? So he stops a scheme by a crooked lawyer. So the crooked lawyer sabotages the fancy outfits made by a prominent tailor so that the celebrities that wear them when the outfits fall apart on stage or middle of a show or production or whatever, they sue the tailor, and then the lawyer represents these celebrities and he collects on the fees. Why not? In the final story I was reading, Batman and Robin track down Alfred when he tries to solve a crime on his own, and the team ends up saving each other and catching the bad guy. So Batman and Robin come to save Alfred. Alfred saves Batman and Robin. It's all back and forth. Everyone works together. It's a really good time. You have a recent CGC 7.0 from November 2020 for $650. Last up, we have WoW Comics number 20. This is from Fawcett, December 1943. Mary Marvel helps a real ghost get a writing. I'm going to start that over. Mary Marvel helps a real ghost get a job writing ghost stories. So he was not a ghost writer, pardon the pun. But he's a real ghost writing real ghost stories. Why not? Recent CGC 7.0 sale from May 2015 for $241. There's only 9 on the census this issue now. To be fair, that's the most recent sale I could find. It was from 2015. It's a 5-year-old book, 5-year-old sale for this book is the most recent I could find. It's only 9 on census. Really not a plentiful book, I don't believe. So if you see this book in the wild, this might be a good find. Might be a bit of a ghost. Interesting cover, fun cover. Mary Marvel doing some interesting stuff. All right, so that's the books for the week. Hope the pop filter here helped a little bit, and helped the audio. I'll get it installed properly for the next episode, and that'll be that. Well, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. We will keep working our way through. We'll finish off December of 1943 in the next episode. Thank you very much. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, like and subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your parents, tell your kids, anybody who'll listen. Thanks.